Good evening, everyone. This is T. West, your host, and this is AfroSynergy News. This program, Coronavirus, a bioweapon, a gift to China? Now that's a question. A gift to China, that part. A bioweapon? That's not a question. It is indeed a bioweapon. That is the coronavirus. So, we're going to deal with this in this program, this virus, this coronavirus. Now, coronavirus, let's talk about it just a little bit, and then we'll get into some of the nitty-gritty in this program. It's good to see you all joining in. We've got a few who have joined in so far, about 43 is going up. That's good. Now, coronavirus is what we call a retrovirus. Just like Ebola is a retrovirus, HIV/AIDS is a retrovirus. Now, what you say, you may be asking, is a retrovirus. Now, retrovirus is a virus that is made up of a combination of two things. That combination is an animal virus and human DNA. Naturally, in nature, animal viruses do not jump over to humans and threaten a pandemic. Pandemic meaning it can spread nationally, it can spread worldwide. A pandemic doesn't happen. That is not natural. Okay? Now, the only individuals that can happen to, like an animal virus jumping from a cat, a dog, a monkey, a pig, or whatever, something from an animal, a virus jumping to humans, that only affects humans with extremely weak immune systems. Now, when you go in for a surgery, to have surgery, and they put you to sleep or they put you on anesthesia, that also, let's say you're going to have an organ transplant. Well, your body has a natural instinct to reject anything foreign that enters your body, be it an animal virus, any virus, whatever. Your white blood cells, especially if you have a strong immune system, your white blood cells will go out and fight against those foreign things. It could be an organ. It could be a heart transplant, kidney transplant, lung transplant, or whatever, an organ. Well, before they put this new organ in your body, they provide a certain type of medications that lowers the vitality of your immune system so that your immune system will not attack that heart or that kidney from someone else that's coming into your body. Okay, so that happens. They lower that the action of your immune system to that. Now, that can be done in laboratories and all. You can take a pig virus, a monkey virus, a cat virus. You can take these viruses from animals, bring it into a lab, and if you know what you're doing, biologists, microbiologists, they're trained in how to do these things, and some of them are very highly trained. So you can take an animal virus and bring it into a laboratory, manipulate a few things with it, and then introduce it to like human DNA and adjust some things so that it can actually learn how to attack the human system, the human immune system. Yeah. So you can do that. Microbiologists can do that. And they've known how to do that for decades, a very, very long time. You know, in 1969, the U.S. government had a program that started from a Senate bill and a House bill. The Senate bill was entitled Synthetic Biological Agents, 1969. And it was in the Senate, it was Public Law 91-171. So synthetic biological agents, not singular, but plural, multiple agents. You can produce different concoctions from different types of animals in the labs. And the House bill in the U.S. House, it was called House Bill, it was 15090. That was a House bill. That was in 1969. And there were some members of Congress who were concerned about it. Others, they weren't concerned about it. They really weren't. Some of those who were concerned, they indicated that, well, shouldn't we be concerned about this becoming yet another mass killer of humans? Okay. Well, anyway, long story short, they ignored that. And then someone else asked the question in the Congress, how long will it take to manufacture it and how much will it cost? Okay. They said it would, I think it was $10 million, I believe it was at the time, and they said it would take 10 years to manufacture it. This was 1969. So 10 years later, around about 1980, you began to hear about something called GRIDS, GRIDS, which means gay-related immune deficiency syndrome. These homosexuals in San Francisco and New York, they were contracting this strange infection. But prior to that, the Center for Disease Control had ran some ads in like gay magazines and newspapers for free hepatitis B treatment. And those who took part in that, they acquired what then was known as GRIDS, what later became known as HIV/AIDS. They acquired that. This was all U.S. government, all. Not China, U.S. government. Not Russia, U.S. government. Now, another thing I should also add is this, is that at that time, the United States government refused to sign the United Nations Genocide Treaty. They wouldn't sign it. American leaders would not sign it. So more than 10 years later, at least 10 years later, what the U.S. Senate did, they took that genocide treaty, the UN Genocide Treaty, they rewrote it, essentially rewriting it so that the United States would not be guilty of genocide. Prior to that, the United States would have been guilty of genocide in the way that the genocide treaty was originally written. Okay? So the Senate rewrote it. So, biological warfare is real. It's very, very real. Now, the appropriate thing to ask is who would have a motive to do such things, especially, let's say, China. China's a very big country, over at least 1.3 billion people. Who would have a motive to do something like that to China if, in fact, someone else did it? Now, some are saying, well, China may have done that to themselves. That was an accident at that, Wuhan lab. There's a level 4 lab that was built there. I think the first of its kind in China. And American dollars went into that. Bill Gates and others, Americans and all, they helped fund that. And that's where this outbreak is said to have started from, is at and around that laboratory in that city in China. Now, but let's also consider something else. Now, the United States has said, some of your leaders have said, that the biggest threat to the United States is China. China, yeah. your current Secretary of State, Barr, not Barr. He's your Department of Justice. Okay, he's your Attorney General. But Pompeo, Mike Pompeo, he says China's the biggest threat, not Russia, China. Okay, so if China is a big threat, then we also have to ask about what about motives? What about motives? But not only did Pompeo say that, but we also have just this week on the 6th of February, you had a big meeting, and Attorney General Barr was there. I want to cover some of that before I get into what this Chinese ambassador just said today. Okay? And you see that on your screen, so you're looking at that right now. Now, before any of you say anything foolish, I don't know if you said this yet out there in the chat area, but before you do, because you know I'll get on you. If I see it, I will get on you. So before you say it, I'm just warning you. Don't say it has anything to do with what people eat in China. Don't even say it. Okay? That was a lie that was told and said forever about Africa and HIV/AIDS. They eat monkeys. And then Ebola, they eat monkeys. Okay? Most Africans do not eat monkeys. Okay? They do not eat monkey meat. Okay? Most Africans do not do that. All right? So don't even go there. Don't even get stupid, because if you get stupid and I see it, I'm going to come back hard on you. All right? I'm just telling you right now, don't even go there. All right? Because no one eats a monkey and get HIV/AIDS. Nobody. Never happened. Never a case that was proven. And you had some so-called microbiologists many years ago saying stupid stuff like that. Not even scientifically factual. Okay? So don't even go there. All right, now, and for well over 10 years, I've been doing programs about biological warfare. I've done that. This is old hat for me. It's very old hat for me, because I started this way back in the late 1980s. Okay, talking about bioweapons and how HIV/AIDS is also a bioweapon. A lot of black folks, they don't like for me to say this, but cities like Washington, D.C., there are certain cities across this country where black folks have been inflicted with that at a rate that is just as high, if not as high, not higher, than some areas in Africa. Okay? But it's a bioweapon. It's a bioweapon. And when you understand these things, when you know these things, then you need to moderate or change your behavior. And these things are going up also because now you have more acceptance of homosexuality among men. The whole sodomy, the sex through the anus cavity, that type of stuff. Well, HIV/AIDS and other sexually transmitted diseases, they're going up. They're rising in this country. Yeah. So it's a death call. That's what it is. And you may live for a while, but you won't live a fruitful life, a healthy life. You will be sick. Okay? And you don't want that kind of life. You don't want that. But people are encouraging you to engage in sodomy behavior. And that includes the women too, because you got women with men, and the men, they don't like the vagina. They won't go there. They go to the anus. That's what they do. So just be aware of that. Be aware of that. You need to be aware of that, because your life is your life. And if you want to live a healthy, fruitful life, see your children grow up and all, then you need to make good choices, not bad choices. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a little bit before I get into a lot of this coronavirus piece. I'm going to just share with you what William Barr, the Attorney General, said at this conference this week. Okay, because most of you, I'm sure you didn't see it. A few of you may have, but most of you probably didn't. And I'm going to bring you some things that you're probably not getting anywhere else. Okay, so let's crank this up right now. I want you to hear this. Okay, so let's get this started right now. Here we go.
My original career goal was to go into the CIA as a China specialist, and therefore I spent 6 years at Columbia getting a BA and MA focusing on Chinese studies.
Okay, now it's important now what he said right there, Chinese studies. Okay, now his entire conversation is going to be about China. Now, so I want you to listen closely, okay? Listen closely now. A week or two, you had the announcement of this coronavirus in China. Well, it's been at least 2 or more weeks now. And now you got this conference where William Barr is talking about the China Initiative, okay? And this is entitled the China Initiative Conference, okay? All right, so let's listen to some more of this.
Remember, in one of my government classes, we were having a debate, and this was in the early 70s. We were having a debate as to which of our foreign adversaries would pose the greatest long-term threat to the United States, and the question was whether it was Russia or China. And I recall the observation of one of my classmates who was arguing that China posed the greatest long-term challenge to the United States.
Okay, so you heard him say, one of his colleagues said China would pose the greatest threat long-term to the United States. Now, why? Okay, listen, why? Listen.
United States. And he said, Russia wants to conquer the world. We can deal with that. China wants to own the world. That's more difficult to deal with. And there's...
Okay, you heard that. He said China wants to own the world. Okay, now we know that that's the situation with the United States. The United States wants to own the world. Those are American leaders. American leaders a lot of them are like that. Not all of them, but a hell of a lot of them are like that. They want to dominate the world in the area of trade and economics. That's why they put sanctions on so many countries. Sanctions on China, sanctions on Russia, sanctions on African countries, sanctions here, sanctions there, but never, no sanctions against Israel. Never, no, they won't do that. Okay, so let's continue on.
There's a certain truth in that. In 1972, our hope was that integrating China into the international economic system would encourage the PRC to liberalize its economy.
Okay, to liberalize the economy. Now, he'll say PRC, and the PRC simply means People Republic of China. Okay, for those of you who don't know what that acronym means, it is People Republic of China. Okay? All right, let's move on.
And that a freer market and economic growth would gradually lead to greater political freedom for its citizens. Unfortunately, economic liberalization has only gone so far. While individuals have been permitted some degree of economic freedom, the Communist Party remains in firm control of the economy.
Okay, so he's going to get into a little bit of Joe McCarthyism. This commie this, commie that, the Communist Party there in China and all. He's going to go into that. So there's going to be a little bit of fear mongering, code word communist. Okay? All right.
It's an architecture of state power whose principal features are central planning, state-owned enterprises, and government subsidies. Politically, the PRC remains a dictatorship under which the Communist Party elite jealously guard their monopoly on power.
Okay, as you can see, he's attacking the type of government that China is under. Okay, the Communist Party there in China. All right, so gotta have a boogeyman. It appears, and China is that boogeyman. All right, now we're going to get to this coronavirus. Barr is not so much, so to speak, is not going to talk about that and all, but I will. I'm relating a motive to certain things to the mindset of certain American leaders. Now, of course, Barr is the Attorney General of the United States. Barr is going to talk about, for example, 5G technology. 5G technology is super fast internet. That's where you have the microwaves all around, and it's really, really super fast. And China is actually leading the world in 5G. The United States is not even in the ballpark, really, with China right now. So Barr is going to talk a lot about that. And I don't know if I'll go through too much of that, but he's going to talk about that. And he's going to talk about how that is such a huge threat to the United States. Y'all heard about Huawei. Okay, you've heard about that. You heard about the founder of Huawei, his daughter being held in Canada awaiting extradition to the United States. Okay, all right, you've heard about that. You've heard about the United States government saying that they don't want any Huawei, I think you pronounce it Huawei, technology in any of its systems, in any of the businesses here, military, nothing, not even their phones. And this is they're all Chinese made, Chinese built. Okay, so let's go on. Let's hear a little bit more of what William Barr, Attorney General Barr, has to say here.
Marxist Leninism and Maoism linger on primarily as justification for communist rule, which is authoritarian through and through. The Communist Party is willing to resort to harsh measures to repress any challenge to its one-party rule.
Okay, all right. Challenge to its one-party rule. Okay, now look, listen. A house divided, and I've talked about this for years because most of y'all really don't know what democracy really, really is, okay? The intelligentsia, they operate under another understanding, and you all operate under a totally different understanding of what democracy is. Okay, so what he's going after, Bill Barr, is going after one-party rule. Okay, now look, a house divided cannot stand. If you have two, and those two ideologies are butting heads with each other, for example, Democrat, Republican, look at how dysfunctional they are, okay? Now in China, what you have strong leadership, one mind. Now, you do have disagreements in China, but nothing like here in the United States. Nothing. Okay. You have one mind that's focused on the primary goals. Okay. So there is no great or huge, big division right there with that. So they get things done. They accomplish things. Here in America, you have a lot of division. And it's based on and steeped in this thing called democracy. Okay. Democracy literally means divide the people and rule. It comes from the Greek word demokratian, which means divide the people and rule them. Okay. In the English, democracy. Okay. They call it democracy. So China is not interested in that. China said, look, what we have, it works very well for us. And apparently it does, because China really came out of the gates very, very strong decades ago, and they haven't looked back. They're moving forward very, very quickly, and almost about to pass up the United States as the world #1 economic power. And Bill Barr, he thinks that this 5G technology will be one of the huge factors that will enable China to pass up the United States. So therefore, they see China as the biggest threat in the world to American dominance. Okay? Now, y'all understand that? Y'all got that? Okay, I'm going to play a little bit more of Bill Barr, a little bit more, but I'm just telling you a little what he's going to say, some of what he's going to say, because I'm not going to play it all. Okay? We're going to get into this coronavirus. I want first for you all to look at motives. Okay? Motives for these things. All right, let's move on.
Whether it is suppressing religion, rounding up and re-educating Uyghurs.
Okay, all right. So Bill Barr is he's going to hit on all the areas where a foreign entity like the United States could come in and divide certain people who have qualms or problems or disputes with the Chinese government. The Uyghurs, which is an ethnic group in China, the United States would try to heighten or elevate that division, exploit that little division between those Chinese ethnic groups within the country. So he'll go into those sorts of things. Those are areas of religion, even religion. And when you look at religion, okay, the Catholic Church went into many, many countries and weakened governments, even overthrew governments, historically overthrew governments. They're also working on that here in the United States too, the Roman Church. Right now, they're working on it. Okay, so the United States or the church will use methods to divide people. When they went into Africa, they sent missionaries. When they came here and went among Native Americans, sometimes you would see them sending these missionaries, these priests, these preachers, these religious people. Okay, and then the religious people, once they gather the intelligence data, they will then send that information back to their political leaders and their military people. And then their military people have that knowledge. They have that intelligence information against someone that they're trying to overthrow, someone that they're secretly trying to conquer. Now, let's move on just a little bit more of Bill Barr, and then we're going to get into this coronavirus thing here now. Y'all just be patient now. Be patient.
Resisting efforts at self-determination in Hong Kong or using the Great Firewall to limit access to ideas and penalize their expression. For a brief time after the Cold War, we had indulged the illusion of that democratic capitalism had triumphed and was now unchallenged by any competing ideology.
Okay, but that has changed. Okay, that has changed. So just a few more seconds of this, and then we're going to move in this coronavirus direction. We've got 324 people watching. I see some of y'all have brought your friends and family with you today. That's good. I know you're listening when you're doing that. All right, let's move on here.
That was nice while it lasted. But we are now in a new era of global tension and competition. And China has emerged as the United States' top geopolitical adversary based on competing political and economic philosophies.
Okay. Political and economic philosophies. Okay. That's total. Okay. What the only thing he didn't say was military. He didn't say that. But competition there too. Okay. All right. Now, what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to start talking about this coronavirus. I just wanted to lay the groundwork for motives. Okay. Motives for things. Okay. As Barr just said, China, United States is now competing economically, politically. He didn't say this part, but also militarily. Okay. With the United States. All right. Now, in addition, Barr is not going to say this, but I'll tell you, China and Russia, they have united economically to a degree, and also militarily, they are uniting. Okay. That's why you saw right before the assassination of General Soleimani, that Iranian general, that's why you saw right before that, 7 days before that, you saw Russia, China, and Iran carrying out military exercises together, naval exercises together. All right. And I've done programs in the past where you saw me and you heard me say the kings of the East. Okay. Some of you know what I'm talking about when I talk about the kings of the East. All right. Now, let's get started with this other part here. Now, what you have, let me just, what I'm going to deal with first here, I'm going to deal with, for example, these billionaires. Okay. The billionaires. And now, when I say billionaires, I'm talking about, for example, Bill Gates. He would be one. Okay. He would be one, but he's not the only one. He's not the only one. You know, Bill Gates, he's done speeches about the Earth's population is too large. And I'm sure many of you've heard about that. You've heard something about it, right? You've heard some things about it. World's population is too large. It needs to decrease if we're going to survive. You know, the global warming, you got too many people. Okay. Therefore, you know, push this homosexual, push it, promote it big time, promote it. My God, let those guys marry each other. At least they won't have any babies. Let those girls, those women marry each other. They won't have any babies. Okay. All right. So that's all a part of the program. Okay. All right. But that's not the only part. That's not the only part. There are other ways also of eliminating a large number of people. And one of the methods is through disease. In 1969, one thing that they said about Public Law 91-171 was that this virus, this retrovirus, needed to appear as endemic. What does endemic mean? Endemic means natural, not something that humans did, but natural causing. Oh, so then lie and say, oh, well, they ate a snake. That's where they got the virus from. Oh, they ate bat soup. That's where they got the virus from. They ate a rat. They ate a monkey. That's where they got the Ebola from. So they put these lies out there in mainstream media, and you hear it sometimes in mainstream media in science and other areas. You hear these lies from the British, from the Americans, and from others. You would hear these lies. These are lies that I've read for years. Okay, so I'm very much aware of the lies that they tell. But if you're not a person who is savvy about these things, you just might believe it. And a lot of you do. You believe the lie. Now, but it's important to know what the truth is. Okay, so motives. Motives. When we start talking about motives for these things, we have to look at certain things. Certain things we have to look at. Now, the coronavirus gives billionaires jitters. Bill Gates, Jack Ma pledges millions of dollars. Okay. Millions. Okay. Now, what you have with these men are multi-billionaires. I mean, they've got crazy money, okay? That they have. So, what I plan to do, well, let me see if I can get that. I don't know if I can get that, but I will see. And if I can, I'm going to share this with you. It came from India Times. India Times, and it says, as the spread of the coronavirus continues unabated across China, claiming at last count 490 lives. 490 people have died. It's probably higher than that now. Philanthropic celebrities and billionaire CEOs have helped authorities fight back. Okay? Here is a look at the donations that have poured in. Okay? Now realize that America have lots of corporations doing business in China. Now, so you have a situation where you have executives who can't and are afraid to just fly over to China. And when they come back into the United States, they're going to be put through these tests. And if there's any signs that they have the coronavirus, then they're going to be quarantined. So, of course, these business executives, they don't want to go through all of that, okay, flying over to China. So does this hurt China right now? Of course it does. Financially, yes, it hurts China. But it also hurts a lot of these American businesses who are doing business with China. You got factories over there in China where lots of people, they're not going to work. They don't want to get the virus. They're trying to stay away from a lot of other people. Okay? Some of those factories produce goods that are sold around the world, sold here in America. If you can't get the goods, the investors, American investors, they're not making any money. All right. So you can see why these wealthy men are now trying to step up and say, well, hey, look, we're going to give money. Okay. All right. Now, some of you also probably know about the Wuhan laboratory that Bill Gates, some of his money was involved at that Wuhan laboratory there in China, where this coronavirus is said to have first started at. So Alibaba co-founder and China's richest man, Jack Ma, pledged $14.5 million to help fight the coronavirus outbreak. In addition, his Alibaba Group Holding Ltd has also offered to establish a 1 billion yuan, which is about $145 million, fund and share its artificial intelligence expertise with researchers. Now, which, by the way, in William Barr's speech, which I showed you a little bit of, he's going to talk about artificial intelligence. He's going to talk about how that 5G technology is going to be integrated very tightly into artificial intelligence, driving, auto driving cars and automation of many things. But China's ahead, far ahead in the 5G technology. Now, Tencent founders, heartfelt gesture. Ma Hoteng, also known as Pony Ma, the founder of Chinese tech giant Tencent that created WeChat and TikTok, donated 300 million yuan, and which is $42 million, to help ease the coronavirus situation in the worst hit areas. WeChat is also working on maps that show locations of hospitals that are receiving patients in over 300 Chinese cities. And then we have also Francois Henry Pinault. I don't know if I pronounced his first name correctly. Okay, but the Kering Group, the parent company of brands like Gucci, Alexander McQueen, you'll see Nardin, among others, will donate $1.8 million. Pinault is the chairman of the Kering Group. The funds are to be donated to the Red Cross Foundation in Hubei and will be used to care for medical staff and patients at hospitals. So this goes on and on. Bill Gates has donated millions and millions of dollars towards this also. So it goes on and on and on and on and on. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation committed to $10 million in emergency funds and corresponding support. All right. So you see all of this that's being contributed towards this situation that's happening there in China. But it's beyond China right now because people are moving, and you have cases here in the United States, several cases here in the United States. It's just that you haven't had as many cases. You haven't had as many people die. I think you've had at least one person die here in the United States of this coronavirus. Okay, so that's what some of the billionaires are doing with regards to this coronavirus. Now let's talk a little bit more. Let's talk a little bit more about this. This Chinese ambassador, the Chinese ambassador. All right, y'all seen and you saw on your screen what the Chinese ambassador said. You saw that. I hope you saw that. Did y'all see that? Okay. Now you had a chance to read it, but I'm gonna put it back up here so that you can see it. All right. So as we go along here with what this Chinese ambassador to the United States had to say about this whole situation with coronavirus. Okay. Now, now the Chinese, the Chinese, they're not stupid. They're not dumb. Okay. And it's important for y'all to realize that. Now, what if the United States is involved with this. Okay? Eventually, over time, it will be found out. It will be found out. Now, so the Chinese ambassador, what did he have to say about all of this? So, Chinese ambassador asked if coronavirus came from biological warfare program. He was asked that. The Chinese ambassador to the United States, Kui Tinkai, did not deny that the coronavirus came from China's biological warfare program on Sunday. And instead, he didn't deny it, but instead suggested that the deadly virus could have come from a military lab in the United States. Okay? Now, these viruses, coronavirus, it's almost like a fingerprint. They have certain signatures for certain types of labs, wherever they came from. If the United States had anything to do with that, they will find that signature somewhere with this retrovirus, with this coronavirus. They will find that. Tian Kai made the remarks on CBS News Face the Nation in response to China's struggle to stop the coronavirus from continuing to spread. It has now infected at least 37,198 people and killed at least 811 in China. This week, Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas, who sits on the Senate Intelligence Armed Service Committee, suggested that the virus may have come from China's biological warfare program. CBS News' Margaret Brennan said, "That's an extraordinary charge. How do you respond to that?" Well, it's true that a lot is still unknown, and our scientists, Chinese scientists, American scientists, scientists of other countries are doing their best to learn more about the virus. But it's very harmful. Very harmful. The words of the Chinese ambassador to the United States. It's very dangerous to stir up suspicion, rumors, and spread them among the people. For one thing, this will create panic. Another thing, that it will fend up racial discrimination, xenophobia, all these things that will really harm our joint efforts to combat the virus. He went on to say, that is the ambassador, Chinese ambassador to the United States, of course, there are all kinds of speculation and rumors. There are people who are saying that these viruses are coming from some military lab, not of China, maybe in the United States. How can we believe all these crazy things? Okay, this is what the Chinese ambassador is saying. How can we believe all these crazy things? It's not really so crazy. Okay, but you have to find the evidence of this. These viruses, depending on what lab they come from, they have a signature. They have a certain fingerprint about them. You think it's crazy? Brennan pressed on. You think it's crazy? Where did the virus come from? Absolutely crazy. Where did the virus come from? A question again from Brennan. We still don't know yet. Chinese ambassador. Okay? He went on to say the Chinese ambassador is probably, according to some initial outcome of the research, probably coming from some animals. Okay? But we know, y'all know, I've already told you in the beginning, that these viruses do not come from animals and then threaten pandemic among humans. No. The only viruses that do that are viruses that have been put on steroids within laboratories. Okay? You're not going to get it eating bat soup. Okay? Rabbit meat. Okay? Monkeys. No. It doesn't work that way. He went on to say, but we have to discover more about it. That's right. You gotta work, you gotta look, you gotta study this now. You gotta research it to find out really what's what. Republican National Committee Rapid Response Director Steve Guest flagged the clip on Twitter, writing, China's ambassador to the United States just went on CBS, Face the Nation, and did not deny that coronavirus stemmed from the Chinese military's biological warfare program. Okay? All right? Okay. Ambassador Kui Tinkai then suggested that the virus could come from a U.S. military lab. Is that possible? Yes, it is. Not only possible, but probable. Okay? The coronavirus death toll in China, as I said earlier, has risen to at least 811 people, passing the total number of people that SARS killed between 2002 and 2003. The number of confirmed infections rose to 37,198. This is according to the Chinese numbers. So 89 deaths and 2,656 new cases were recorded in the preceding 24 hours, most of them in Hubei province, the heart of the outbreak there in China. World Health Organization Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. Now that's definitely Ethiopian. Okay. I didn't know that we had an Ethiopian who was now director of WHO. Okay. But he warned against misinformation last week, saying that it was making the work of our heroic workers even harder. I would also like to speak briefly about the importance of facts, not fear, Tedros indicated. People must have access to accurate information to protect themselves and others. At the World Health Organization, we're not just battling the virus, we're also battling the trolls and the conspiracy theories that undermine our response. As a Guardian headline says today, misinformation on the coronavirus might be the most contagious thing about it. That was from the Guardian, a UK publication that Tedros was quoting the headline. The Middle East Media Research Institute reported that some in Arab media blamed the United States and said that the virus was being weaponized against China. Well, it'll take time to determine whether or not that's true. Okay? If you see that it's only predominantly Asians who are being affected by it, and Caucasians are not being affected by it as much, okay, then you might have a case. You might, but you need to look a little further. Okay? Now, there is, and for a long time, for a few decades now, there has been the capability of what we call so-called race-specific biological weapons. I wrote an article about that in 1990 in an Arizona newspaper called the Arizona Informant. Yep, I sure did. Sure did. It was attacked by Abraham Foxman, who was at that time head of the Anti-Defamation League. But he was weak. He could not disprove anything that I said in that article. Nothing could he disprove. Now, following the spread of the coronavirus in China and other countries, several writers in the Arab press wrote that this virus and others, such as the SARS and swine flu viruses, were deliberately created and spread by the United States in order to make a profit by selling vaccines against these diseases. MEMRI reported. Okay, that. Now, others wrote that the virus was part of an economic and psychological war waged by the United States against China with the aim of weakening it and presenting it as a backward country and a source of diseases. Well, we know that they played that with Africa since forever. Africa this, Africa that, Yeah, it's a disease. Yeah, it came from Africa. Africa swine flu. Africa killer bees. Africa this. Yeah, Africa. Now, now the focus is on China. Okay? All right. So, but anyway, I wanted to share that piece with you all. But as I said, I'm almost done. As I said, retroviruses are man-made. Yeah, man-made. They're produced in laboratories, and they can be spread by humans intentionally and then unintentionally. They can be spread. So I want you all to know that. Those of you who've been watching this channel for a long time, you all already know that. You know that because I've done this. Like I said, this is old hat for me, very old hat. Okay. And you do have ethnic specific weapons. You've got biological weapons. You do have that. United States has been working on that for a very, very, very long time. Very long time. You know, anytime you have something like HIV/AIDS, over 90% of the people who were affected by it were black. Over 90%. That's been for a long, long time. Okay? That's pretty doggone race specific. It's ethnic specific. Yes, indeed. Yes, that's right. So, what I'm going to do now, I think what I will do, I'm going to take a look at some of you all's comments here in a moment. See what you all are chatting about and talking about. All right, smooth out any areas that needs to be smoothed out, because I know some of y'all are going to go off the reservation. I know you are. I know that. So we're going to deal with that. We're going to deal with it. All right, Potechi, I see you. Thank you, Potechi. Truth. That's right. That's what you're going to get here on AfroSynergy News, is the truth. That's what we deal in here. Is the truth. The whole truth. Nothing but the truth. Yes, that's what we deal with. Now, what I want to do, I'm going to go to you all's comments here in a moment. That's right. That's right. Share THZ. The truth will come to the light. You have to keep pushing it. Keep pushing it. And people will gravitate to where. But as I said, what do you have to do? You got to keep pushing it. Pushing it. Now, what I'm going to do here is, as I said, I'm going to go to your comments here in a moment. Here, I'm just doing a little bit of something here, and I'm going to get to your comments here in just 1 second here. I'm your host, T. West, and you all have landed on AfroSynergy News. So, all right. Let's deal with this. All right, your comments. Let me take a look at your comments out here. This is all about economics. Oh, economics is one part of it. It's a big part of it, though, but it's one part of it. Okay. Okay, money is the root of all evil. Okay, the love of that money. All right. All right. Yes, PMs. For some people, the truth categorized as hate speech. They don't like it because they're liars and they don't want the truth to be told. So therefore, they will flag things. They will thumb down things. Yes. Okay. Marcus Brown. So what country does this virus benefit? Well, Marcus, you must have joined late. Okay, because I've told you what the motives might be and the benefits that the United States may gain from this. United States indicated that China is its biggest threat in the world. China. All right. Okay. Okay, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. What does that have to do with this China and Africa? Did China say that it's going to send 5.5 million Chinese to Africa? Who said that? Where are you sourcing that from, Abraham Isaac? What's your source of that? Okay. All right. Maria Thomas says, every country deals in disease warfare called chemical warfare. Well, chemical warfare doesn't have anything on biowarfare. Biowarfare is by far uglier than chemical warfare. Chemical warfare, they tried in World War I. The Europeans did over there against each other. And eventually they came to the conclusion that it's not beneficial to any side. One big reason is because the wind direction can change and it'll blow back on you and kill your own troops. So anyway, that's chemical warfare. With biological warfare, that's a little different animal there. Okay, it's nasty. It's much nastier. Okay, and all right, Deep Lockett, you just subscribed. Well, thank you. Buick Electra says, I refuse to eat food from all of the Chinese restaurants here in my hood in Atlanta. There are Chinese restaurants every 2 blocks in my hood. Okay, as long as you realize that you're not going to get coronavirus eating Chinese food. Okay, it's your choice of where you want to eat at and where you don't want to eat at. All right, now. Okay, HIV, Light Bearer says HIV is, I guess you're trying to say, not hitting the white community. Well, I did an article in 1990. I indicated that HIV AIDS virtually does not affect the white female in America. Okay? And that's according to the Center for Disease Control statistics. Okay? All right. That's a fact. All right. Moving on. Jervis Bowles. Y'all better stay out of those Chinese restaurants. Why, Jervis? Why? I hope it's not because of what I told y'all not to say. Okay? You're not going to get coronavirus from eating Chinese food. Okay? So I hope none of y'all are spreading that lie. Don't spread that lie because it's a lie. All right. Okay. All right. Just looking at a few comments here. A few of your comments. And Ryan James says it's akin to smallpox, disease blankets to the Native Americans. Yes, that's biowarfare. The British practiced that against the native peoples of America. Okay. Mateos Rafael Estefanos says even Ethiopia has a high HIV/AIDS rate. Yes, there are a number of areas of Africa that have had a very high rate of HIV/AIDS, but HIV/AIDS was a bioweapon. It was created and produced in American laboratories. Of that, I have No doubt. None. Okay. iRises says, you, T. West, they used the false impeachment to cover the bio attack on China. No, the impeachment didn't cover anything because the world was watching. The world and the people are capable of multitasking, of looking at all of these things. They weren't hiding it. Not at all. All right. Maria Thomas says, every country experiment with all types of diseases in labs. That is how they find cures for certain diseases. Well, not every country have the capabilities of doing all of that. And sometimes they use the search for cures as an excuse to carry out clandestine biological warfare programs. That's what they were doing in 1969 with that program that they call synthetic biological agents. And then 10 years later, right on cue, they had it. And it was killing homosexuals in America while it was killing children, women, and men in Africa. Yeah. Man-made. A bioweapon. Okay. And I'll also say this, that you have what's called CCR5 Delta 32. CCR5 Delta 32 negative, 32 being the 32nd position on the human chromosome. That position, if it's negative, meaning it does not, the white blood cell does not have a hook on it, which is normal for it to have a hook. It's abnormal for it not to have a hook on it. If it does not have that hook on it, then HIV/AIDS, generally with those people who do not have that hook at that 32nd position on the T cell, they will not contract HIV/AIDS. That group are the Ashkenazim primarily. In other words, the small hats. Those that many of you call Jews. Okay? That's something that I've been reporting on for well over a decade. Another fact, y'all can go out there and look it up. Just look up CCR, that's cat, rabbit, CCR5, the number 5, Delta 32. Look it up. All right. These are things that you're not going to hear probably anywhere else. On your mainstream media, you're definitely not going to hear that. All right. But that's why you come here. You come here to get your PhD, not the BS. Okay. Just a few more comments from some of you. A few more. Garuda says, the people of West Ring or Fire got a disease by Europeans. It was leprosy. Places like Hawaii in the Ring of Fire on the West. Well, what does the Ring of Fire have to do with that, Garuda? Okay. That's right. Thank you, Deborah. Y'all read that African Americans National Political Agenda. Yes. Odinga, you at the gym. Well, that's good. You're getting some good exercise. All right. Okay. All right. Okay, and Ryan James says it was a Chinese New Year's gift, referring to the coronavirus. All right. Okay. Omar Hassan, Deuteronomy 28. I'll bring every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon you until you be destroyed. Well, the Lord ain't got nothing to do with that coronavirus, Omar. The Lord has nothing
nothing to do with the coronavirus. Had nothing to do with the HIV/AIDS and the Ebola either. Okay, those were man-made, and that white man is not the Lord. Okay, now, okay. All right. There are lots of comments out here, so I was just going to go through a few of them. I was not going to cover all of them. It was just a few that I was going to cover. But I appreciate each one of you who joined in. And I'm sure I will have more to say about this coronavirus as things move along. But for now, that is what I wanted to share with you all for now. I'll be doing more later. I mean, it doesn't look like this killer is going to dissipate too soon. So, again, I'm your host, T. West, and this is Afro Synergy News. You can subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click on that notification bell when you do. And you can also contribute if you want to contribute. You can do it through PayPal, Patreon, or the Cash App. Once again, I am your host, T. West, and this is Afro Synergy News. You all have a good evening, and we will be back.